Welcome back to CIA Declassified. Today we step into the shadow of the mushroom cloud. It's September 1980. The tension between the superpowers is at a breaking point. While the public went about their daily lives, the agency and the British government were busy playing out the end of the world. They weren't just guessing, they were calculating the exact number of bodies that would pile up in the streets of London and Washington. This operation was the ultimate stress test for a civilization on the brink. The agency needed to know if the world burned, who would be left to hold the matches? This was the grim reality of Operation Square Leg. How did a simulation of the apocalypse end up with a name as stiff as a math equation? The name Operation Square Leg was a multi-layered designation. Factual records indicate the term was pulled from the sport of cricket, where a square leg is a fielding position placed at a 90-degree angle to the batsman. In military terms, this referred to the square grid mapping used to plot nuclear ground zeros across the United Kingdom and the United States. The leg referred to the logistical support legs, the bunkers and hardened sites required to keep leadership upright after a strike. The exercise assumed a total of 150 megatons would drop on the British Isles alone. Operation Square Leg involved thousands of officials retreating to secret bunkers like Mount Weather and the Kelvedon Hatch bunker. A quote from a 1980 Home Office briefing. The exercise assumes a concentrated nuclear attack. Regional commissioners are hereby granted absolute executive power to maintain order, including the summary execution of looters and the rationing of all remaining medical supplies. End quote. The agency's primary role during the exercise was to establish a shadow intelligence network to monitor Soviet troop movements through the fallout. A quote from a declassified CIA memo. In the post-exchange environment, the priority of the agency shifts from intelligence collection to the preservation of the constitutional succession. End quote. Operation Square Leg proved that nuclear winter was a major variable. Simulated soot lowered temperatures so much that the underground fuel supplies gelled. Records show that the exercise resulted in the 1980 casualty projections, which estimated that hospital services would be non-existent for 90% of the population within 48 hours. The exercise utilized the Pindar bunker beneath Whitehall, testing the communication links between the Prime Minister and agency liaisons during a total blackout. The exercise was so realistic that British regional commissioners were issued warrants of appointment, giving them the legal power of a dictator in their specific zones. A quote from a former Defense Secretary, Francis Pym. The purpose of Square Leg is to face the unthinkable so that we might find a way to manage the impossible. End quote. The simulation included the National Strategic Target List, which identified the agency's own facilities as Tier 1 ground zeros, necessitating the use of mobile command units. When we look at the declassified logs, the heaviest redactions are found in documents with titles like Selection Criteria for Non-Elected Permanent Personnel. That file contains more black ink than the rest of the archive combined. Specifically, the section on transition to indefinite bunker, that part's entirely missing. And there's over 2,800 pages of the post-strike asset seizure, which are also gone. Why is the government hiding their plans for what happens when they don't come back up? Get ready for the theory of the underground usurpers. Speculation suggests that exercises are actually the agency moving the government into bunkers permanently. This theory claims the redactions have to do with the duration of stay log, which hides the fact that the simulation ended years ago, but they argue that the 2,800 missing pages describe a 2026 world where the real government has been underground since 2020. Some imagine the redacted pages have something to do with a subsurface expansion project, a tectonic weapon. This theory argues that the agency used Square Leg to map the world's crust to trigger earthquakes from inside of the bunkers. Theorists looking at certain blacked out sections argue that the bunker residents have been biomodified in some way. They claim the redactions hide a program where residents are linked into a hive mind. Gossip suggests that the black bars in the post-strike currency reevaluation section hide a plan to delete global debt. This theory posits the agency wants a nuclear exchange to wipe financial records and start over. The rumors are circulating regarding atmospheric seeding redactions, which people believe hide evidence that the agency wants the sun blocked out. They claim the redactions prove climate engineering is a way to make the surface uninhabitable for all but the elite. Some believe the redacted pages hide a cryogenic plan. This theory suggests the agency has thousands of genius-level staff frozen in square-leg sites waiting for a reawakening signal. Fringe gossip argues the redacted sections describe a cloning protocol. This theory claims that every person on the survivor roster has a replacement clone in the bunker. Whispers from the dark web suggest that the redacted isotope dispersal pattern files prove the agency uses fallout to target specific genetic groups in an eugenics map. A wild theory claims the missing pages describe a hollow earth tunnel system connecting all square-leg sites via high-speed rail. Conspiracy enthusiasts argue that the emergency broadcast subliminals redactions hide the CIA's secret that air raid sirens can contain a frequency which triggers a sleep state in a vast majority of the population. Lastly, some whispers suggest the redactions are so heavy because they prove that the 2026 world is already a simulation, and the 2,800 redacted pages are the code reset key. Was Operation Square Leg a success? Tactically, it was a terrifying triumph. It provided the most accurate data ever gathered on how a society would collapse. Strategically, it was a cold comfort. It proved the government could survive, even if the country they led did not. As far as technological and operational breakthroughs are concerned, the Fallout files led to breakthroughs that define the survival landscape at present, such as hardened fiber optics, communications that can survive an EMP, automated continuity protocols, software that triggers shadow leadership, mass casualty algorithms, tools used to predict black swan event impacts, and closed-loop life support. Filtration tech now used on the space station. Operation Square Leg reminds us that the plans for the post-atomic world are already written, signed, and locked away. Thanks for listening, and join us next time as we examine Project Oxcart. In the secret hangars of Area 51, the agency built a titanium ghost. We'll uncover the A-12 blueprints and the Skunk Works manifest. Join us next time for The Speed of the Shadows. In the meantime, I'll see you in the archives.